Peace, peeps. Yahsinni is in the house. And um, in the usual form, here to read for you what you won't read for yourself. So Yahsinni is here to help you out, right? And so we're going to go over those Christian black codes today. And I'm going to share my screen so you can read along with me. Okay, so and we're going to try to make this fast because it's a lot. Okay. So let me get organized. Let me get set up so that I can see you see me. Yeah. Yeah, that looks about right. We're good. We're good. So I see you seeing the screen. Okay, let me get it. Let's move that around. See it? That's me. Okay, so Christian Black Codes of 1724, March. I really don't like the way this looks. I hope y'all can see it. I'm gonna try to go real fast. So, Article 1 decrees the expulsion of the Jews from the colony. First and foremost, yeah. Article 2 make it imperative on masters to impart religious instruction to their slaves. Substitute impart for teach or make them learn. Article 3 permit the existence of the Roman Catholic Creed only. Every other mode of worship is prohibited. And I didn't see where they had an introduction, but this is coming from the RV Bay. Let's see if I can get it. I'm gonna link. I'm gonna link it in the description box after I make this video. So let's move on to Article 4. Article 4 says Negroes placed under the direction or supervision of any other person than a Catholic, yeah, they're liable for confiscation. And we don't need to look up the word confiscation. Article 5, Sundays and holidays are to be strictly observed. Oh, no willpower? No, when I'm making my fucking 2 cents, okay? So all Negroes found at work on these days are to be confiscated. Figure out why they keep using the word confiscated and know from your intellect and common sense what confiscated is and find out what they're doing with these confiscated Negroes. Article 6, we forbid our white subjects of both races to marry with the blacks. If only that had stayed true. On the penalty of being fined and subjected to some other arbitrary punishment. Ah, look that up. Arbitrary punishment. Come on. We forbid all curates, priests, or missionaries of our secular or regular clergy, and even our chaplains in our Navy to sanction such marriages. Now, I promise you, I'm not going to explain to you every word that has more than 5 letters. We also forbid all our white subjects and even the manumitted or free black, freeborn blacks to live in a state of concubinage with the slaves. Again, Google, should there be any issue from this kind of intercourse? Okay, and you see right here, it says form when it should say from. It, boom. Get the edit, format text. Not interested. Okay, should there be any issue from this kind of intercourse, it is our will that the person so offending and the master of the slave should pay each fine of 300, I'm going to say dollars, but it said lavis. So, should said issue be the result of concubinage of the master? That means, you know, what concubine is, you Christians. Should the said issue be the result of concubinage of the master, his slave? Said master should not only pay the fine, but be deprived of the slave and the children who shall be adjudged to the hospital of the locality. Yeah, send them there, wait for social services to come and do whatever they do. Yeah. So, and said slave shall be forever incapable of being set free. Well, then don't concubinage with that motherfucker. Oh, you had no choice. Yeah. Anyway, but shall this illicit intercourse have existed between a free black and his slave? When said slave, according to the forms prescribed by the church, said slave shall there be set free, and the children shall become free and legitimate. And in such a case, there should be no application of the penalties mentioned in the present article. All right, moving on. Article 7. The ceremonies and forms prescribed by the ordinance of Blouse and by the edict of 1691 for marriage shall be observed both with regard to free persons and slaves, but the consent of the father and mother of the slave is not necessary. That of the master shall be the only one required. Article 8. A lot of typos in here. Article 8. We forbid all curates to process or to effect marriages between slaves without the proof of the consent of the master. We also forbid all masters to force their slaves into marriages against their wills. It's the law. It has been edicted. Disclaimer, I'm skeptical about all of the shit that I read. However, this is what they have in their books. And, um, all of these in their fucking archives, in their Congress library, National Archives, and all of that shit. This is what is edicted. Okay, so there's no way you're gonna be able to play the game and win without knowing the rules. The rules is they documented all of this shit in their books, and this is what they have to abide by. Now, will the rules in the books change? Of course they will, but it's up to you to be up on your P's and Q's. Article 9. Children issued from the marriage of slaves shall follow the conditions of their parents and shall belong to the master of the wife and not of the husband. If the husband and the wife have different masters. True on that. Article 10. If the husband be a slave and the wife a free one, it is our will that their children, of whatever sex they be, shall share the condition of the mother and be as free as she, notwithstanding the servitude of their father. And if the father be free and the mother a slave, then the children shall be slaves. Why? Because they understand that the matriarch is the one who passes down the mitochondria Eve gene, or I promise you, it doesn't come from the father. That one drop shit. Psst. If you don't have the mitochondria Eve gene, then you're more than likely mankind. Kind of like a man. Article 11. And know what I'm putting my 2 cents in. Article 11. Masters shall have their Christian slaves buried in consecrated ground. We're going to talk about the consecrated ground at another time. Article 12. We forbid slaves to carry offensive weapons or heavy sticks under the penalty of being whipped. Yeah, you get a whipping. And of having said weapons confiscated for their benefit of the person seizing the same. An exception is made in favor of those slaves who are hunting or are shooting for their masters. Oh, really? Huh. You can get a rifle to go hunt for master? Hmm. And then at the end of the day, you just turn the rifle back in? Ah, what are you allowed to hunt? Ooh. Is there room for accidents? Oh. An exception is made in favor of those slaves who are hunting or are shooting for their masters and who carry with them a written permission to that effect or are being designated by some known mark or badge. Okay. So the person who you would show that written permission to while you're hunting, Negro, I'm just saying. 13. We forbid slaves. We forbid slaves belonging to different masters to gather in crowds either by day or night. Oh, under the pretext of a wedding. Or for any other cause. Yeah, you stop it. Stop it. Either at the dwelling or on the grounds of one of their masters or elsewhere, and much less on the highways or in secluded places. Listen, under the penalty of corporal punishment. Yeah, which should not be less than a whip, but it could lead up to a killing, I'm sure. You got to read between the lines sometimes. That's why I'm sharing this with you. So, in case of frequent offenses of the kind, the offenders shall be branded with the mark of the flower de luce. I didn't think I was going to need my pen and paper, but I'm going to always have it handy just in case. Just in case. Yeah, so let me write down what the flower de luce is. Because that's what you're going to be branded with. I'm sorry, I got to take this pause for a moment because I don't like to continue on if there's something that I don't know. Okay? So flower Come on, keyboard. Yeah, yeah. There we go. Flower. D. Luce. Luce. I said Luce because I know they like to put accents on shit, but I don't know how to pronounce for real. But we're gonna find out what the meaning is so we can complete this thought. Okay. So definition and meaning, Merriam-Webster. The flower, the loose. And that's what it is. It's not loose, it's loose. Middle English, flower de luce from Anglo-French, alteration of Middle French is, and it didn't tell me what it was. They want me to search nearby words. No, tell me what this is. They want me to compare it to some other shit. No. Okay, it's literally a lily flower. So let me see. Oh, so let's now look up lily flower then. Now, see, this is what you got to do with these motherfuckers. They be trying. So there's a lily flower that they're gonna brand on your ass. Mm-hmm. And oh, the lily flower. Okay, I googled that. Why is all of this shit pictures coming up? I want to know the significance. Lily flower meaning. I'm sorry, I gotta take the time to do this. I might cut it out, but it is not gonna. It's only gonna give me pics. Let me see if I can get this to show up. It ain't gonna happen with this background. You're gonna have to do the work yourself. Anyway, that's what you're gonna get branded with, all the offenders. And should there be aggravating circumstance, capital punishment may be applied. Really? Back in the 1700s, and for what? Because you forbid slaves belonging to different masters to gather in crowds? Let me catch Leroy and Tyrone at a fucking wedding together, having this different masters. Your ass gonna get branded. That's when we done found your ass together frequently. Oh, so who's the fucking gatekeeper on that? In a time when cameras weren't as they are now. Okay, so we command all of our subjects, be they officials or not, to seize all such offenders, to arrest and conduct them to prison, although there should not be there should be not judgment against them. Oh, oh shit. Mm, yeah. Well, Article 14. And we're gonna move this along because you see where I'm fucking going. In fact, do I really need to read any more if I just post the link in the description box? Yeah, I do. Because you're not gonna fucking read it. So, Article 14, master who shall be convicted of having permitted or tolerated such gathering as aforesaid, composed of other slaves than their own, they should be sentenced individually to indemnity, indemnity their neighbors for the damages occasioned by the said gathering, and to pay for the first time a fine of 30, I'm gonna say dollars, for back then it's 1700, okay, and double that sum on the repetitions of the offense. Yeah, do it again. Have Leroy and motherfucking Tyrone at the same goddamn event. Article 15, we forbid Negroes to sell any commodities, provisions, or produce of any kind without the written permission of their master. Yeah, how are you going to get that? Or without wearing their known marks or badges. And any persons purchasing anything from Negroes in violation of this article shall be sentenced to pay a fine of 1,500. And you can imagine back then that's the equivalent of like 15 mil. Yeah, master, don't do it. It's just a thought for the slaves who knew a little hoodoo. Yeah, whatever. Articles 16, 17, 18, and 19 says provide at length for the clothing of slaves and of their substance. Yeah, what's your slave wearing? Where you get it from? Article 20. Slaves who shall not be properly fed, clad, or provided by their masters may give information thereof to the Attorney General of the Superior Council or to all the officers of an inferior jurisdiction and may put he written exposition of their wrongs into their hands, upon which information, and even ex officio, till the information come from another quarter, the Attorney General shall prosecute said masters without charging any cost to the complainant. It is our will that this regulation be observed in all accusations for crimes or barbarous and inhumane treatment brought by slaves against their masters. Hmm. I'm about to wrap this up. After reading that, my fuckery light went off. I'm gonna do a couple more while the light is still on, and then I'm gonna shut it the hell fuck down. You're gonna be forced to go read the rest by yourself. Sorry. So Article 21 says slaves who are disabled from working, either by old age, disease, or otherwise, the disease incurable or not, shall be fed and provided for by their master. Awesome. So master wasn't just willy nilly. I can do anything as bitch. He had hell fuck rules. And in a case that should have been abandoned by said masters, said slave shall be adjudged to the nearest hospital, to which said master shall be obliged to pay 8 cents a day for the food and maintenance of each one of these slaves. And for the payment of this sum, said hospital shall have a lien on the plantation of the masters. Masters can be punished. And didn't Jesus Christ say, slave, obey your masters as you would me? Turns out, masters, it wasn't all free, willy nilly, like Negroes think they were. We actually, like, on a real job now, you can tell a motherfucker, feel like you're being racist, file a complaint against a bitch ass, and now there's going to be consequences for their bitch ass. Hmm. Does this make you think you should get up on reading more of their documents listed in the National Archives listed in their Library of Health Congress. All the books they be writing, telling you, listen, in the age of Aquarius, the truth is going to come out. You might have to dig a little if you don't have eyes to see and ears to hear. You can still figure the shit out. They wrote down every health hug thing, and even when they give a new version of things, all they do is put some sauce on it. But sauce is good. Read through that shit anyway. And even though I'm gonna have to read Article 22, because I already see some fuckery. We declare that slaves have no right of any kind of property, but that all that they acquire, either by their own industry or by ability of others, or by any other means or title, whatever shall be the full property, but that all that they acquire, each by their own industry or by the ability of others or by any other health means or title, whatever shall be the full property of the master, okay? And the children of said slaves, their fathers, mothers, their kindred, or other relation, either free or slave, have no pretensions or claim, okay? Either through testamentary, nor positions, nor donations, intervive, which depositions and donations we declare null and void, and also whatever promise they may have entered into by persons incapable of disposing of anything or participating to any contract. Article 23. Masters shall be responsible for what their slaves have done by their command, and also for what transactions they have permitted their slaves to do in their shop in a particular line of commerce with whom they are entrusted. And in case that, listen, slaves had a lot of value. And don't fool yourself into thinking that these slaves are so disposable. I promise you, they paid a lot of money for that melanin. They're not telling you what they were paying for these motherfucking slaves. I promise you, no more or African somewhere was just giving them Negroes. I'm actually mad now, but I'm gonna force myself to go on. So, in the case says slave should have acted without the order of authorization of the master, said master shall be responsible only for so much as has turned to their profit. Okay. And if said masters have not profited by the dining or transaction of their slaves, the per curiam, which the masters have permitted the slave to own, shall be subjected to all claims against the slaves after deduction made by the masters of what may be due to them. And if said per curiam to consist in the whole or in part of merchandises in which the slaves had permission to traffic, the masters shall only come in for their share in common with the other credits. Why am I getting a vision of what I'm reading about and today's economic as being synonymous? Like we like to think that slavery was so horrible time and I couldn't have went through it and all that. Yes, you could. You're going through it now. You just don't know that you're a hell fuck slave. That was my 2 cents. Article 24. Slaves shall be incapable of all public functions and of being constituted agents for any other person than their own masters, with powers to manage or conduct any kind of trade. Really? Yeah. I said slaves shall be incapable of that. nor can they serve as arbitrators or experts, nor should they be called to give their testimony either in civil or criminal cases. Understand why they said civil or criminal. That was two different types. That's it. So, except when it shall be a matter of necessity, and only in default of white people. But in no case shall they be permitted to serve as witness, either for or against their master. Sounds a little contradictory to me because I just read you that they had some kind of right to tell on them bitches. Article 25. Slaves should never be parties to civil suit, either as plaintiffs or defendants, nor should they be allowed to appear as complainants in criminal cases. All right, at this point, it would be it's redundant for me to read further, okay? Because you saw the name of it. Yeah, I'm done reading. Look, Christian Black Codes of 1724, specifically in March. These are the articles that they laid out. Everything I've been reading to you have been an article that was laid out in their fucking Christian codes. And surely I'm gonna have to bring you the Jim Crow laws, and we're gonna see that this shit is cyclical. No need to reinvent the wheel. And on that, with that being said, that being read, Yahsinni's had it up to here with this bullshit. Tell you, I'm gonna be able to do it. Not, not gonna be able to do it. And so I'm gonna leave you with something to think about. We're a half hour in. Give me like 6, 7 more minutes as I jam like a motherfucker to this new group. hmm Because I can't, I just can't read any more of that stuff. Okay? I don't want to. To groove my way up out of this bitch. Yeah. Yasini's had it up to here.